Welcome to the deep dive. We are here to take the articles, the research, and the notes you've gathered and give you that intellectual shortcut to being perfectly informed.
Exactly. And today, we are deep diving into the world of sports romance.
Specifically, we're looking at a really successful novel by Rachel Reid, Tough Guy, which is book 3 in her Game Changer series.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack a story that, on the surface, it's a romance.
Right.
But it uses this hyper-masculine, super high-pressure world of professional hockey as a backdrop to look at some really serious themes. We're talking anxiety, identity, and just finding actual joy.
The sources you shared are fantastic for this. We have an author interview, some really detailed book summary.
And character deep dives, yeah.
So they give us the plot, but also a real look into the author's thinking, her creative process. We're going to distill all of the best insights for you.
And the central tension, I think, is right there in the title.
Tough Guy.
Yeah, Tough Guy. The book promises one thing, but the main character's internal reality is, it's complete contradiction. That's really the engine for the whole story.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's talk about Ryan Price, the tough guy himself. He's a professional hockey star, a defenseman, but his specific role is the team enforcer.
And we really have to give some context for that job because it's brutal. An enforcer isn't just playing defense.
No.
Their whole job is to police the ice, to retaliate, to get into fights, to protect the star players, or just to motivate the team. It's a role that is 100% built on aggression.
And that's the key, right? The sources make it so clear that he's a reluctant enforcer.
Totally. He's massive. He's physically very good at the job.
But he hates it. He actively hates the fighting part.
It's a job requirement that's just completely at odds with his actual personality.
And you see that contradiction play out in his internal life immediately.
Oh, yeah. The author herself doesn't describe him as some menacing jock. She calls him a giant, sad teddy bear who just needs a hug.
A giant, sad teddy bear. I love that.
It's perfect, right? He's soft-spoken, he's sweet, and he's stuck maintaining this shell of aggression to make a living.
And the psychological toll of keeping up that persona is, it's huge. The source material says Ryan suffers from a debilitating anxiety condition.
Right. It shows up as full-blown panic attacks. He has a really hard time with even simple social interactions.
And it's more than just being shy. This anxiety creates a huge problem for his professional life.
I mean, think about the logistics. He has this major occupational challenge, which is a significant fear of flying.
As an NHL player, that's absolutely crippling.
How can you do it?
Yeah.
You can't have a career traveling across North America if you dread getting on every single plane.
Exactly.
And that's on top of his career instability. He's been traded a lot, which for someone with severe anxiety is just repeated trauma. Every move adds to this deep, unsettled feeling.
So when we meet him in the novel, he's trying to make a fresh start with a new team, the Toronto Guardians, but he is already carrying so much baggage.
A ton of it.
And for you listening, what's really interesting here is how Rachel Reid is just moving past that flat stereotype of the stoic athlete.
She really is. She's giving us this rich character study that puts serious mental health struggles, the panic attacks, the isolation right inside the uniform of this hyperphysical, high-pressure job.
It's that universal tension, isn't it? The performance your job requires versus the person you actually are inside.
So if Ryan Price is this big, anxious enforcer, his love interest, Fabian Sala, is basically the guy who lives outside of all of those boxes.
They are the definition of opposites attract.
Textbook. Fabian is an aspiring musician, and he is just unapologetically fabulous. He loves makeup, fashion, all things glamorous.
So where Ryan is quiet and internal.
Fabian is warm, social, confident. The book says he lives loudly and to the fullest.
And they have a history, which is a great romance trope. They met years ago in Halifax when Ryan was only 17.
Right, Ryan was playing junior hockey, so he was billeted with Fabian's family.
Yep. Which just means he was living with a local host family, a really common thing in junior leagues.
Exactly. So it set up this kind of awkward initial connection. And their reunion in Toronto is described as a second chance at a chance.
Because obviously nothing serious could happen when he was a teenager living under Fabian's parents' roof.
Right.
I can see the chemistry there, but how do the sources keep Fabian from just being, too perfect or annoyingly rebellious?
That's a great question. And he does have his own issues. The author points to his most annoying trait, which is this stubborn, lifelong hatred of hockey.
Ah, a bit of a problem.
A huge problem. The source says he carries his bratty teenage energy about it into adulthood. It's not just that he doesn't like the sport. He actively rejects Ryan's entire world.
You absolutely need that friction. But okay, beyond the conflict, Fabian becomes Ryan's guide.
His emotional and cultural guide, yeah.
Yeah.
They reconnect in Toronto's LGBTQ village.
And this is where the joy starts to come in.
It really is. Fabian pulls Ryan out of that toxic professional bubble and introduces him to a world where his vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's such a crucial contrast to the violent job he has to do every day.
And the sources are specific about the activities where Ryan starts to feel alive. We're talking dance clubs, art exhibits.
Connection.
Yeah.
And yeah, the sources made a point to mention the most amazing sex.
Well, it is a romance novel.
Right. But these things ground him in an identity that has nothing to do with the hockey rink.
And they are crucial data points because they represent the complete opposite of the physical and mental punishment he's used to. He is literally finding a new self through this relationship.
Which leads directly to the core stakes of the novel.
And that's the realization that his professional identity is actively destroying his personal one.
His body and his mind are just suffering. So the implication is crystal clear. If Ryan wants a future with the joy he finds with Fabian,
He might have to hang up his skates for good.
he has to choose the career that defined him or the happiness that fulfills him.
That is a powerful choice. Okay, let's pivot from the characters to the architect of this world, Rachel Reid.
Who, as our sources point out, is actually using a pen name. Her real name is Rachel Gogan. She picked the pen name because it's just easier to say and spell.
Makes sense. And her focus is, as she says, cute, romantic smut, mostly about hockey players.
But the why she chose hockey ties, right back to what we were just talking about, identity and performance.
She said she's fascinated by pro hockey players because, and this is a quote, they've been heavily conditioned to be tough and serious and stoic.
And her whole motivation as a writer is to use romance as a tool to dig into and show their depth.
Which explains the appeal. People aren't just reading for the sports action. They're waiting for that moment the armor cracks.
Yeah, when the vulnerability shows through.
Yeah.
And the series structure really supports that. Tough Guy is the third book in the 6-book Game Changers series.
To run through them quickly, you've got Game Changer, Heated Rivalry, Tough Guy, Common Goal, Role Model, and The Long Game.
It's a whole universe. And to show you the reach of this subgenre, it's worth noting that Book 2, Heated Rivalry,
The really popular one.
it's already been adapted for the screen.
Yep.
It's streaming on Crave in Canada and on HBO Max in the US. So this isn't some tiny niche thing. It's resonating enough to jump platforms.
That definitely validates the audience's desire for these kinds of complex relationship stories.
For sure. And before we get into her creative process, we pulled a few fun facts from the author interview.
Let's hear them.
She lives in Nova Scotia. Her favorite NHL teams are the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh,
She has 2 boring degrees and 2 interesting kids.
and this is my favorite detail. Her childhood ambition was to be a hockey writer.
So mission accomplished, just through a slightly different route.
Exactly. Now, this is where the sources offer some really practical advice for you, the listener. It doesn't matter if you're writing a novel or just trying to tackle a huge project at work.
It's her advice on the first draft.
This is so relatable. Her core advice is basically kill your inner editor and just keep writing. Don't worry about the first draft being perfect.
Your only job in that phase is to generate material. You can fix it all later.
And she has this amazing psychological trick for doing that. When she gets stuck on a scene, she doesn't stop. She just skips it and inserts placeholder text.
It's brilliant. She writes the scene she wants to write in that moment and leaves herself a little roadmap for what to fill in later.
And the notes are things like, write a really touching conversation here.
Or my personal favorite from the sources, the very direct, insert sex scene here.
Huh. I mean, it's permission to just bypass the hard parts until you have the main structure down. It's a way to beat perfectionism.
And that messy first draft really pays off in revisions. She saves everything. She has a dedicated deleted scenes document.
So nothing is wasted.
Nothing. She says she uses that cut and paste material all the time when she's editing and needs a bit of dialogue or a detail to flesh out a scene. It's a goldmine.
That's a great strategy for any big project, not just fiction. So, to finish painting the picture of the author, we've got a few more rapid-fire details.
She loves mountains, but her absolute favorite landscape is a craggy ocean coast, the best of both worlds.
Which kind of fits an author who writes characters with so many contradictions.
Totally. She also doesn't reread books, mostly because there are too many new ones, but she makes an exception for the author Cat Sebastian,
And her favorite animal.
is the beaver. And she specifically added a note in the interview, which we have to pass on. She said, This is not a double entendre. I just really love those big old rodents.
We appreciate the clarification.
We do. And finally, her favorite movie, which feels just perfect for someone who writes about glamorous musicians and sweet, anxious jocks.
It has to be.
The 90s classic, Clueless.
Of course. A little glamour, a little sweetness, it totally fits.
It really does.
So, what does this whole deep dive give you? Well, we've looked at the layers of Ryan Price, the pro-tough guy, whose inner world is just defined by this crippling anxiety and a job he hates.
And we've seen how his encounter with the glamorous, loud Fabian Sala forces him to confront that tension between his public identity and his private search for joy.
This is really a story about a massive reckoning, and that's the provocative thought we want to leave you with.
For Ryan, the persona he maintains, the enforcer, is actively harming his mental and physical health. His job literally requires him to embrace the one thing his anxiety repels: confrontation.
So at what point does finding real, undeniable joy, the kind Ryan finds with Fabian, force a necessary break with that career?
What makes that fear of disappointing people, of losing this profitable identity you've built? What makes that stronger than the fear that you're just going to collapse from the inside out?
It's the ultimate trade-off played out on the ice and in the vibrant streets of Toronto's LGBTQ village. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into vulnerability, identity, and the high cost of performing toughness.